give you a small, right, I will give you a small introduction or else some kind of final interpretation about this poem. So basically, you have to understand certain things about this poem. Now, we discussed about the communal clash and what kind of tragic end which has brought to our motherland. Because of this communal clash, a lot of people died because of the misunderstanding, and most of the time, because of the opportunistic politicians, we lost our freedom, we lost our natural interrogation, and as a result of that, we had some kind of national segregation instead of interrogation. So interrogation. So as a result of that, we face number of problems. Now, I am quite I think that you guys are quite aware about these things, and we decided to discuss about certain parts when it comes to the violence. Most of the time, the question will be based on from this particular poem for your ordinary level examination based on violence, right? So please make sure to pay your attention towards the idea of violence and what kind of effect that it created to the society when it comes to the society to different levels. Now, if you read the poem very carefully, this is the biggest poem in the syllabus, right? Biggest poem. There you have 7 stanzas. So each and every stanza explains you about the situation in different perspectives. So this is what you have to understand. Where in the first stanza, she discusses about the reaction given by the media. They did not want to provide a solution. They tried to sensationalize the situation, and they wanted to earn a lot of money by selling a lot of newspapers rather than providing some kind of solution to this problem. On the other hand, we discussed about on the other aspect, we discussed about the reaction, how that reaction actually occurred when it comes to these tourists, right? What kind of reaction that they showed, and they cancelled all their trips and they went to other countries because of the communal clash. They understood that in Sri Lanka, they cannot survive. As a result of that, tourism industry was collapsed. As a result of that, what happened? Tourism industry was collapsed, right? So that is actually in the first stanza. In the second stanza, she discusses about the path. How did we come to this ravaged place, right? The political history of the country, right? How did we come to this communal clash? It did not occur suddenly. It did not occur spontaneously. So we came step by step. Where 1948, we got the independence. But according to her, most of the minority groups, they did not enjoy their freedom. Only the majority groups enjoyed their freedom. As a result of that, the real freedom cannot be gained still, right? Still, even though we celebrated each and every year, 4th of February, we celebrate the new year, we celebrate the Independence Day. But according to the poetess, she says that this is not the real independence, because most of the minority groups, they did not get a chance to express themselves. Their fundamental rights, their human rights were being violated, right? As a result of that, she did not enjoy, she did not accept 1948 Sri Lanka gained independence. Then, my dear students, she discusses about 1956, where SWRD Bandaranaike introduces Sinhala Only Act. As a result of that, actually what happened, most of the minority groups were not able to communicate with other sectors of the society, or else they could not do their day-to-day work due to number of problems that they face, because their main language was Tamil language at that time period. But inside the country, the language was given, the chance of language was given to Sinhala. So as a result of that, they face number of problems. And the result they faced in 1958, that is the first communal clash which occurred in Sri Lanka based on language and religion. So from 1958 to 1983, number of communal clashes occurred in Sri Lanka. These are the things that she discussed in the story in the second part. In the third part, she is comparing the big match or else the cricket match with the communal clash, where she is trying to explain the fact that the way that young people behave in a cricket big match, same enthusiasm, same violence can be depicted from the most of the majority of the people who wanted to destroy all the property of these Tamil people, where she uses a very powerful metaphor. The sensation is explained through a powerful metaphor called busier scores than any at the oval, right? So she directly compares the sensation enjoyed by majority of the Sri Lankans by torturing these minority groups, right? So in the fourth stanza, fifth stanza, and the sixth stanza, she continuously discusses about how this problem actually affected for general public, where people could not continue their day-to-day lifestyle, and most of the fathers they have to give up all the relationships with their daughters and their wives because they sent their children to the neighbor's house in order to get some kind of protection, and they sacrificed themselves, right? Children could not go to school. University students, they could not continue their education because universities were closed at that time period. So this kind of general problems are actually discussed in in stanza number 4, 5, and 6. The seventh stanza, this is the seventh stanza that you can see, where in the seventh stanza she discusses about the real problem, or else we call the essence of the poem, or else the cream of the poem, right? The cream of the poem can be found out from the seventh stanza, where she explains about the situation which occurred in Jaffna. At the same time, she discusses about the situation which occurred in Colombo as well, right? The both situations are quite clearly projected in the poem, so which shows us the problems which actually occurred in our country, right? So this can be identified as one of the major important quotations. So here we can clearly understand number of quotations clearly shows us what kind of problems actually occurred at that time period in Sri Lanka. Out of the Palmyra fences of Jaffna, Bristol 100 guns. So sound of 100 guns can be clearly identified because 100 guns refers to definitely at least 100 bodies, 100 people will be dead, right? So shop fronts in the Peta, landmarks of our childhood, curl like all photographs in the flames, blood on the khaki uniforms, 3 boys lie dying. So blood on their khaki uniforms refers to even the police people actually engaged in this violence. They did not think about other people, right? They also actually engaged in the violence. That is what she discussed. A crowd looked silently the other way, right? Even people did not bother to find out the problems of other people, right? People became selfish and they wanted to save themselves, right? This is what they wanted to do. So these are the basic things that you have to remember, right? So I discussed about those parts, and now we are coming to the one of the most important parts again, which discusses about the destruction. Now remember, seventh stanza completely discusses about the destruction. Seventh stanza of the poem completely discusses about the destruction, not only in Colombo, but also in Jaffna. So each and every line is very much important, my dear students, because when you are going to write answers to this poem, definitely they will ask the question based on violence, right? What kind of violence that occurred, how the poetess has presented or projected that violence in the poem. So definitely you know that during the Big Math season, or else during the communal clash, a lot of innocent people died, not only Tamil people, but also Sinhala people, right? So the opportunistic politicians took the maximum advantage. These are the things that you have to remember, right? So here we will go to this stanza. Still we are in the seventh stanza. Near the wheels of his smashed bicycle at the corner of the duplication road, a child lies dead, and 2 policemen look the other way. As a stout man, sweating with fear, falls to his knees beneath a bow tree in a shower of sticks and stones flung by his neighbor's hands. Now, this quotation is also very important. It is very much ironical, which clearly shows us the damage made by the communal clash, right? We will read this. The tragedy is even more highlighted in the above stanza, where she continues the tragic elements of the incident with powerful diction. Now, the word is very much important here, my dear students. What do you mean by diction? Diction refers to usage of words, right? I hope that you can see the screen. So here diction refers to usage of words, right? Usage of words. Usage of words can be identified as the diction, right? Usage of words. So we can clearly understand she uses a very powerful diction here. So she has selected most appropriate words. Now, refer to this word, my dear students. Now, duplication road is a place which is very familiar to us. Can you understand? She uses number of words like that, Peta, duplication road. So all these places are very much familiar to us. We have been to these places so many times in our life, right? So when she when she tries to use this type of words, it clearly shows us that the poetess wanted to think about these situations from our imagination, right? You will go to that place from your imagination. So those things are important to figure out. Then, and 2 policemen look the other way. See the scenario, the 2 policemen look the other ways, right? So normally when it comes to police, they are the ones who should provide us protection. Now for the politicians, they have all the 3 forces and everything, they are private securities and everything to provide them protection. But as general public, we don't have someone like that. Can you understand? As general public, we don't have someone like that. You have to understand this. So police should protect us. But unfortunately, at that time period, police did not do that. Police did not do that. What is the reason? That is why we can see here, right? Police looked the other way. They did not care, right? A lot of people died, right? Even the children, even the young boys, a lot of people died, but they did not care. They did not care at all. So this clearly shows us the institutional violence, right? The politicians asked them not to interfere. Can you understand? Politicians asked them to not to interfere. So even the police people, they did not do their job properly, right? So as a result of that, what happened, my dear students? Innocent people suffocated. We don't have anyone to help. We only get the protection from police because we are general public. We don't have money to accompany all these private security and all the other stuff, right? All the other people. So we go to police station. If you face some kind of problem in the society, we go to the police station. We think that definitely we will get some kind of protection from them. But unfortunately, now we don't have that. Now we don't have that even. And blood on khaki uniforms, right? Very symbolical. Sometimes police people may also have engaged in this violence. We don't know. However, this is institutional violence. We will move on from there. Beneath a bow tree, in a shower of sticks and stones flung by his neighbor's hands, a stout man sweating with fear. A stout man is an old man, a feeble man who is trying to survive. Why he is trying to survive? His own neighbor is actually putting stones at him, throwing stones at him, right? His own neighbor, right? This is not a stranger. This is not a stranger. His own neighbor is throwing stones at him, and this particular person is trying to hide under a bow tree. Now, bow tree is very much symbolical. I explained you that day also, because Lord Buddha attained Nibbana, or else attained enlightenment, under a bow tree, right? Even the birth, enlightenment, and attaining Nirvana, all these things actually happened under a bow tree. So bow tree is very much symbolical. It is a sacred tree where the bow tree provided protection for Lord Buddha when he is about to enlighten. So the poetess clearly explains what happened to these Buddhist principles. What happened to these Buddhist principles? Now you guys are actually protecting trees as well. You guys are showing your gratitude to the bow tree as well, right? When you go to Anuradhapura, right, we collect all the what you call leaves of the bow tree, right? We worship the bow tree. Why is that? Because we show our gratitude, right? We show our gratitude because this particular bow tree actually helped Lord Buddha to achieve enlightenment. But unfortunately, same bow tree cannot help this innocent man in this particular situation. So Yasmin Gunaratna gives a powerful slap to the Buddhist community. A very powerful slap to the Buddhist community. What happened to your Buddhist principles? Is this what your Lord Buddha has taught you, right? Is this the way that you behave, right? A very powerful slap, my dear students, right? So here, my dear students, if you pay your attention, all the categories are included, right? Even children are there, young people, and the adults, right? All the three categories can be identified. 3 boys are lying dead, and here we have the child lies dead, right, where it refers to the children, and the situation of this man clearly shows us the situation of the adults. So the entire stanza explains us about the problems, or else the violence that occurred at that time period, right? Check whether you guys have finished. We will move on to the next part. Hurry up. If you have any problems, please make sure to ask. All right, okay. We did that part as well. Please tell me, yeah. I don't have any idea. That is why I am explaining. Right. Did we do this part as well? Tell correctly, yeah. Otherwise, during the last moment, you will say that we did this, right? Yes, Seshani, I will send. Please send me. Otherwise, you will tell that we did this one also after explanation. Now, did we do this? Otherwise, Last moment you will say that we did this part as well. Did we do this? Right, okay, then please write down. Above stanza creates a powerful haunting imagery in our mind about the tragic elements of racial violence. A child was brutally killed and the level of brutality was furthermore enumerated by referring to his or her bicycle. Not only the child, even the bicycle was destroyed. Now, refer to the level of violence. Refer to the level of violence. Now, the child was killed, right? That is totally fine. But they have destroyed the bicycle as well. Can you understand the level of violence? What kind of vengeance that they had in their minds, right? What kind of vengeance that they possessed, right? So this is what you have to understand, right? Vengeance. Right. So not only the child, even the bicycle was destroyed. Police was helpless. I explained these parts. You have to write down. They were looking the other way. This clearly portrays us. They were not able to enforce law and order during the incident. Police was not able to enforce law and order. නීතිය සහ සාමය හරියට කරගෙන පවත්වාගෙන යන්න බැරි වුණා ළමයි. මොකද පොලිසියට ඒ කාලේ එහෙම බලයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. පොලිසියට මුකුත් කරගන්න විදියක් නැහැ. They were helpless, right? Because this is institutional violence, right? The politicians, they told policemen to not to interfere. They asked policemen not to interfere. So as a result of that, most of the politicians, they faced number of problems. This is what happened, right? Right. If you have finished, right, okay, I hope that others have also finished. So from all these quotations, my dear students, what we can understand is the violence. So don't forget the question. You have to write according to the question. Now our question is, I will show you the question, right? This is the question. So here we can see the tragic elements of racial violence. What do you mean by tragic elements? Tragic elements refers to you will get some kind of sadness. Right now, basically the dramas, we have two parts, tragic and comic, right? Tragic and comic. So here we can see the tragic elements, right? All the sad endings can be identified. That is what we call tragic elements, right? Right. So we have did you write this part? Did you finish? Shall we move on to the next part? What about the other students? Can you see the screen? Make sure to practice writing also, right? Right. So did you finish? Okay, I will move on to the next part. I hope that you guys have completed. If police was helpless, one can imagine about the helplessness of people and about the level of violence. If police is not going to do anything about this particular situation, think about the status of innocent people. Think about the situation of innocent people. What are we going to do? This is the problem that we all faced. Can you understand? So we didn't have any option. We were helpless, right? Most of the people were helpless at that time period because they can't tell the injustice to the police. What is the reason? The police is rejecting them. The police is rejecting them. So there is no point of explaining them the problems, right? The police looked the other way. They did not care. They did not care about the problems faced by people. So you can clearly understand the helplessness of people. Tragic elements. We are discussing tragic elements, helplessness, right? No one was there to control the situation. Situation of the old man was even more tragic and pathetic. See the words, even more tragic and pathetic, right? So we are discussing tragic elements. Don't forget that, right? Situation of the old man was even more tragic. Very much tragic situation and pathetic. Pathetic means sad. Pathetic refers to the sad, right? Even more pathetic and sad. His own neighbor is the one who flung sticks and stones to him. His own neighbor, right? They lived long period of time together, right? Own neighbor is the one who flung sticks and stones to him. He was trying to survive under a bo tree. The use of bo tree is quite symbolical. The bo tree is the place where Lord Buddha received protection from extreme weather conditions. So this is a very powerful symbol, my dear students. I also explained you that part, right? Symbolically, that is very much important, where the poetess is asking the question from the majority of the Buddhists, right? What happened to your noble principles, right? Why are you behaving like this? Because majority of them were Buddhist at that time period, right? So she is asking the question from the majority. Why did you behave like this? What happened to your noble principles, right? Is this the way that you are going to behave in the society, right? So number of questions were raised, right? So these are the things that you have to understand. Hurry up and write down. If you have finished, please pass me a message. Right, if you have finished, please pass me a message. We are going to right. What about the other students? Did you finish, Puta? What about Lehansa? Oshan, did you finish? Rukeya, can you understand? Aharan? Chamodi, did you finish the work? Did you write this part? Still, we are discussing about the pathetic incident of the situation. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask. Right, I hope that you guys have completed. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask. Right. So I will move on to the next part if you guys have finished. Right. The same bo tree failed to provide the protection to the stout man. This is what I told you, right? The same bo tree failed to provide that protection to the stout man. The poetess questioning about the validity of noble principles of Buddhism. Now, this part is very much important, right? By referring to that symbol, the poetess is asking the question, what happened to the noble principles of Buddhism? Because most of the people engaged in this communal clash, they were Buddhists, right? So that was the majority. So by using this particular symbol, she is questioning about the noble principles of Buddhism. What happened to those noble principles? Is this what Lord Buddha has taught you? Is this Lord Buddha has taught you? That was the question. All of them were vanished due to the tragic elements and racial violence. This is the irony related to the incident. As we can realize, the entire 7th stanza deals with the tragic elements of racial violence. It is not traffic, it should be tragic, right? Tragic elements of racial violence. Tragic elements of racial violence. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask, right? 7th stanza is a little bit difficult to understand, so that is why I explained, right? So in the 7th stanza, make sure to remember the entire stanza discusses about the violence. The entire stanza, right? Not only one part, one line or two line. The entire part discusses about the tragedy, right? What kind of destruction was occurred and the situation that people faced in their day-to-day lives, right? This is what we discuss. If you have any problems, please make sure to ask. Hurry up and finish it off. Today we can most probably finish this poem and start the new one. Other students, please write down. Don't think this is this as a trouble, because when you write more, you will develop your spelling, you will develop your vocabulary, right? You can manage your time as well. So it will be a great chance for you to study all these things, right? A really good chance. Right, other students, please hurry up. We are unable to send the note, Puta. I will try my level best, but I can't sure that. But I can send you the recording. If you have paid the class fees, surely we can send the recording. Make sure to send us the slip to that number. They will send you the recording. Notes, it is impossible to provide, but you can get the recording if you have paid the relevant class fees of that relevant month. Right. So, okay. So I hope that you guys have finished. So still we are discussing about the tragic elements, right? Everything is related to the tragic elements, right? So go through this 7th stanza, very much important. Now, I have given you a brief introduction, what happens in the other stanzas. So 7th stanza is basically about racial violence and the results related to the racial violence. So we discussed about those things, and we are coming to the last part. Right. Right. So this part will be the last explanation, where we are going to end the poem from here. The poem maps out the matchsticks which ignited the fire according to the narrator. 1956 is mentioned. I explained you about these things, which is significant because of the implementation of the Sinhala Only Act. I discussed about the importance of these years. Please make sure to remember them. 1948, Sri Lanka gained independence. 1956, Mr. S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike introduces Sinhala Only Act. 1958, first communal clashes occurred in Sri Lanka based on language and religion. These things are very much important because they are symbolically explaining you the steps that we came to this ravaged place. So we did not come to this place spontaneously, right? We came step by step, right? So the poetess is trying to explain the fact that This is the reality. Whether we like it or not, still we have not gained the complete freedom. All the minority groups are still facing number of crucial circumstances in Sri Lanka, especially the Tamil people, right? Okay. So the instigated protests as the Tamil civilians of Sri Lanka were subjected to extreme inconveniences and injustice because of the act. It was a political move which served to appease the Sinhala Buddhist majority of the country. It was a political move, right? Remember, SWRD Bandaranaike never wanted to provide better language, or else Sinhala language. Most of the majority of the Sinhalese, they thought that SWRD Bandaranaike is a patriotic person because he provided that language, right? Sinhala language. But when you refer to his personal character, he is a really good narrator or else a really good speaker of English language. His fluency of English is incredible. But the same fluency he did not provide to the citizens of the country. Why is that? You can understand the situation, right? It was a political move which served to appease the Sinhala Buddhist majority of the country, which guaranteed the largest chunk of the votes. Right? Largest chunk of the votes. As a result of that, he won the election. She also mentions 1958 when an anti-Tamil program swept the nation. In this way, she points out the political choices and other ramifications, right? Other decisions taken by these politicians which stirred up the tragic elements of the ethnic tension, right? So all these things are actually providing us the tragic elements, right? Don't forget about the tragic elements. Tragic elements are very much important, right? That was the question. So we have to pay our attention based on the question. Hurry up and finish it off. Then we can give a summary of this poem and we can go to the new poem today. We can start the new poem. Hurry up, my dear students. Okay, right. So finally, we have to go through with the summary, right? So others, please hurry up. Then and there, finish it off. Please, right? Because don't expect for the recording. Even though you can get the recording, then and there, finish it off. Because it will take a lot of time to go through the recording again and write down the notes. So my advice for you is that then and there, finish it off, right? Otherwise, you will face number of problems, right? Then and there, finish it off. Right, okay. So did you finish this part? What about the other students? Right. Please pass me a message. Amasha, are you okay with this, Puta? Chamodi, please go through the recording, right? Please go through the recording, right? When you go through the recording, you can understand. Sometimes when you join to the class in the middle, you will not understand the poem because this is one of the most difficult poems in the syllabus. So make sure to go through the recordings, right? When you go through the recordings, you will understand these are the things that I have to pay my attention. Right. Yeah, both are here. Right, okay. So I hope that you guys have finished. Right. Is there anyone who is still writing? Please pass me a message through the chat function. Is there anyone who is still writing? Anyone who is still writing? Pass me a message through the chat function. No, right? Okay. So we will finish it off. This is how I have finished the question. Now, these are the steps, or else if you go through the steps, these are the things that you have to remember as a nutshell, right? This is what we call a mind map. What are the things that you have to study has been given here. So use the mind map and try to understand what are the things that you have to pay your attention, right? These are the things that you have to pay your attention from stanza number 1, stanza number 2 to stanza number 3, stanza number 4, stanza number 5, stanza number 6, and stanza number 7. This is what we call the mind map. This is how you have to study, right? So stanza number 1, the poetess is critical about the behavior of media, discusses about the downfall of tourism, right? Stanza number 2, the political history which motivated public to reach this ravaged place, 1948, 1956, and 1958. Stanza number 3, the communal clash was compared to a cricket big match, right? The entire stanza discusses about the similarities that we can see in a cricket big match and in the communal clash. Stanza number 4, the suffering faced by the general public and how their day-to-day lifestyle constrained due to the communal clash, right? Constrained refers to lagged, right? Their day-to-day lifestyle was destroyed or else disturbed. Stanza number 5, the suffering faced by the general public, how people sacrifice themselves to save their family members, protection of women, right? I send the Padmini and the girls to the neighbor's house, if you can remember. Protection of the women, right? Most of them try to provide protection for their wives and daughters. Stanza number 6, the powerful connection between Sinhala and Tamil communities, even though politicians try to separate them. If you can remember the quotation, I am happy that some lines have not yet been cut. Can you remember the quotation? Very good, right? In that quotation, we can clearly understand the undividable connection between Sinhala and Tamil people. Stanza number 7 discusses about the violence occurred all around Sri Lanka, creating visual imagery. Very powerful stanza. This is how you are going to study. So after each and every poem, we are going to discuss the mind map. This is what we call mind map. You have to remember all the quotations, right? I can't help you in that. You have to study all the quotations. This is what we call mind map. If you take everything in the poem, now you may have written more than 20 to 25 pages. ඔගොල්ලෝ දැන් මේ වෙනකොට පිටු 20ක් 25ක් ලියලා ඇතිනේ. එහෙම නේද? ඉතින් එහෙම ඒක ලියලා ඒ අවබෝධය ඇතුව ළමයාට පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ මේවා ඔක්කොම එක පිටුවකට ගේන්න. ඒකට අපි කියනවා mind map. ඒ බැලුව ගමන් ඒ පිටුවේ තියෙන ඔක්කොම විස්තර ටික හැම ස්ටැන්සා එකක් ගැනම වෙන. This is what we call the mind map, right? So one by one you can understand what actually happened. Make sure to draw this in this same manner, right? So it will help you to understand the poem much more better, right? So very simple. Make sure to write that. Now you know what happened in each and every stanza, and that will help you to understand the poem as well. So today we are going to finish the biggest poem in the syllabus. If I am not mistaken, we have done more than 8 to 9 sessions in order to discuss this poem, because a very difficult poem, not like the other poems. Sometimes you may have felt like boring and all, but can't help. This is one of the most important poems that we have to pay our attention. No hard and fast rule. Definitely you have to practice this, right? Each and every part I have included. Please write down. This is what we call the mind map. This is how you are going to study. Right. I hope that you guys have completed. Right. I hope that you guys have completed. Now, this is how we have done the entire poem. So this is not going to stop from there. Make sure to go through the poem, a very difficult poem. I have tried my level best to explain this poem to you in the most simplest manner that anybody can understand, because most of the students, they don't have any idea about this communal clash. So even I don't have any first-hand experience, but we have to know about the political history of the country in order to understand the poem. Now, as you can see here on the screen, 1948, 1956, 1958, all these incidents collectively contributed to this particular event. So definitely we have to understand the basics, and we have to understand the history that related to this particular incident. Then only we can understand the poem. That is the best method that you can practice. So make sure to understand this study map. So when you go through the study map, you will understand these are the things that I have to remember. So each and every part we have explained, right? And we discussed a target question as well, right? So we can discuss a lot of target questions, but it will take a lot of time because we have already done this lesson for more than 2 months, right? So very difficult lesson to understand. And when we write more and more target questions, it will take a lot of time. So make sure to write target questions, make sure to write answers. If you write answers, make sure to send them to my email address. Make them a PDF format and make sure to send them to my email address. I will send you my email address. Make sure to send your answers. Write the answer and take some pictures and convert that into PDF format, right? convert your answer into PDF format and send me your answers. I can mark your answers and I can send them back to you, right? Make sure to send them through email. I will send you my email to the WhatsApp group. Make sure to send your answers. I will mark them, right? I will definitely mark them in grade 11 classes. Also, I am marking those papers and I will send you them. So please make sure to go through the emails, right? Right. So this is what we have completed. So I hope that you guys can understand, right? Little bit difficult poem to understand, but if you pay your attention, you can very easily understand the poem. Right. Make sure to remember about the background ideas as well, right? That will definitely help you to understand the poem. Okay, right. So today we are going to start our new poem. Right. So our new poem will be Clown's Wife by Johnson Agard. So one of the most popular poems in your English literature syllabus, right? Right. So Clown's Wife can be identified as one of the best poems when it comes to English language, English literature syllabus, due to several reasons, because the language is very much simple, but the message that the writer tries to give is something very much important, right? Or the poet tries to give is something very much important. And he discusses about the appearance versus reality, one of the most famous themes when it comes to English literature, right? So if you have the book, please go through the book and please make sure to go through the book. Now we are going to start a new poem. So all the students must pay their attention to the new poem and make sure to write down the notes. And here also after the lesson, we will discuss some target questions and how to write target questions. What are the most important quotations that you have to write? You have to include, right? All these things will be explained. So we will go to the poem, Clown's Wife by Johnson Agard. I hope that you guys have read the poem. Right. So we will start. Right. First and foremost, we will get some understanding about the writer, right? The poem is actually written by Johnson Agard, as you can see on the screen. Johnson Agard is a British playwright, poet, short story, and children's writer who won the Paul Hamlin Award for Poetry in 1997 and has traveled extensively throughout the world performing his poetry. Through the poem Clown's Wife, Agard deals with the difference between appearance and the reality and the suffering of the poor, right? So appearance and reality can be identified as the major theme related to this poem, right? There are other themes as well, right? So you can write down the introduction, then we will move on to the poem. So basic idea about the poet is something very much important, right? Always make sure to remember you have to have some kind of basic idea about the poet. If you don't have any basic idea about the poet, you will not be able to write the introductory paragraph when you are going to write answers. So having a basic idea about the poet is something very much important, right? It is very much important. So please make sure to have some kind of idea about the poet. I'm not asking you to remember all the date of birth and date of death and everything like that, but at least you have to have some kind of understanding about what kind of awards that he has won and what kind of books that he has written. So all these things are very much important, right? All these things are very much important. So pay attention to all these things, then you can understand, then you will realize, okay, these are the points that I have to include to the introductory paragraph. So he is a very popular poet, and most of the poems written by him actually based on the idea of appearance and the reality. He discusses about the major two themes, appearance and the reality, and the suffering of the poor as well. So indirectly, he discusses about troubles and tribunals faced by people, right? So you can write down. Some information should be there about the poet, right? That is a must. Some students, they don't pay attention at all for these things, but that is a must. Some information should be given about the poet. Right, others, please hurry up. Right. Did you finish this part? Very much important. So, as I told you, some information should be there in your mind about the poet. If you don't have that information in your mind, it is very difficult for you to write the introductory paragraph. When you are going to write an answer, you are going to write an introductory paragraph. In order to write that introductory paragraph, this information will be very much important for you. So please make sure to remember something about the poet. Now we will move on to the poem, right? Right. Okay. Introduction to the poem. So I have given them point-wise. Make sure to write them in point-wise that you can remember. Although the poem is about the clown, much emphasis is paid on the wife of the clown. Now, this is important, right? Although the poem is about the clown, make sure to remember much emphasis. Emphasis refers to much highlight is paid on the wife of the clown. This is something important, my dear students, right? This is important. We are discussing about the behavior of the clown. That is true. But the highlight is given to the clown's wife, right? The wife of the clown, right? Because she is the one who explains us everything. Very important. It is through the voice of the wife the reader looks at the clown. It is through the voice of the wife the reader looks at the clown. So the entire poem is presented to us from wife's perspective, right? Wife's perspective, right? Entire poem is presented to us from wife's perspective. Very important, right? Entire poem is presented to us from wife's perspective. Though the wife describes the real nature of her husband, her true nature is spontaneously. Spontaneously means puta, naturally. Naturally. Spontaneous means puta, naturally. Right? I will write down all the difficult words. Make sure to write down. Naturally. Spontaneously means naturally. Revealed as a devoted wife. That is something important. She can be identified as a devoted wife, right? She can be identified as a devoted wife. Devoted refers to she is giving her 100%, right? Devoted refers to she is giving her 100%. I hope you can understand. She has given her 100% to her husband, who is trying her best to cheer her worried and crestfallen husband. So this particular husband is actually worried, right? Worried. He is really unhappy about his life. We don't know why. That is what we are going to find out. And this particular husband is actually crestfallen. Now, there are a lot of difficult words, my dear students. Please make sure to write down, right? Crestfallen refers to puta, disappointed. Here we have the word crestfallen. Crestfallen refers to disappointed, right? Crestfallen refers to disappointed. Crestfallen refers to disappointed husband. He is very much disappointed. Therefore, the title suggests that though the subject matter is the clown, the wife's contribution is larger than his contribution to the poem, maybe to the life of the clown itself. So, even though this poem is related to a clown, the entire situation is explained by a clown's wife. As a result of that, my dear students, more than the clown, clown's wife perspective and clown's wife will be highlighted, right? So that is important. So she discusses about her husband and the problems faced by her husband and what kind of contribution done by her in order to make him happy. In order to make him happy. The entire poem is presented from wife's perspective. The entire poem is presented from wife's perspective. Narration, very good, Deshani, very good, Deshani, very good. Very good, Deshani. We can take the narrator of the poem as the clown's wife because she is the one who explains about everything. She is the one who explains about everything, right? So this is important. This is very much important, right? This is very much important that you have to pay your attention. Right. So I hope that you can understand. Hurry up and write down. Make sure to write all the difficult words. Write all the difficult words. Write emphasis or else the highlight. Crestfallen refers to disappointed. Spontaneously refers to naturally. Right? Spontaneously. Make sure to pay attention for all the words. These words are very important, Pute. Make sure to understand when you are going to understand the poem. When it comes to English literature, vocabulary is very much important. Even though you don't pay a lot of attention towards vocabulary, vocabulary is something very much important, right? Please pay your attention towards vocabulary. That is something very much important that you have to pay your attention. Vocabulary, right? Very much important. Please pay your attention towards vocabulary. What about the other students? Did you understand now what are the main points that we are going to discuss in this particular poem? The entire poem is about clown. Entire poem is about clown. What kind of incidents that he faced, what kind of person that he is likewise. On the other hand, all these incidents are explained or expressed by the clown's wife. So more than the clown, the poet has given the chance or else some kind of room to the clown's wife the clown's wife will be highlighted. The entire poem is presented to us from wife's perspective. Now, if I know the clown, he's a clown actually. He is performing all the activities in a circus. If I know the clown, I am looking at the clown from my perspective. I am not his husband. I am not his wife. So I am just a stranger. So that is my perspective. But here we can see the wife's perspective, because wife is the closest one, right? So wife's perspective is explained here, right? Very much important. Very good, Ishani. Exactly, yes. Love of the wife. Love of the wife at the same time. Now, Ishani, you said that love. So if they are loving each other, they should understand. They should have to have some kind of mutual understanding. Ishani, in this particular poem, you will realize this wife does not have proper mutual understanding about this clown. That is why we discussed about the theory of appearance and reality. That is what we discussed. Can you understand? Appearance and reality. අපිට පේන දේ නෙමෙයි ඇත්ත. දැන් wife හිතනවා මේ clown අනේ හරිම දුකෙන් ඉන්නේ මෙහෙමයි මෙයාට ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා මේමයි කියලා. But that is not the truth. So there may be something else. There may be something else. So as audience, we have to understand that. So always make sure to remember that is the theme, right? That is the theme. All that glitters is not gold. Dilisena siyalla rattaran noi. That is the idea. Try to understand appearance versus reality. We will discuss the poem, then you guys will understand. Just like Ishani, I am really happy that if other students can ask the questions. Wife is the best person to speak about the clown's private life. We all know only about his public life. Very good. Exactly. But the question arises again, Suwani, even though they had a very good family life, can we, as people, we all are people, right? We all have emotions. Can we judge another person? Can we completely 100% understand another person? Are we capable of doing that? අපිට 100%ක් මිනිස්සෙක්ව අඳුර ගන්න පුළුවන්. එකට ජීවත් වුණා කියලා, එකට කෑව බිව්වා කියලා, එකට හිටියා කියලා, එහෙම අඳුර ගන්න පුළුවන්ද? Can we do that? That was the major question raised here, right? Can we understand? Now, whether this wife was able to understand 100% about this particular character, right? That was the question, right? So we will move on to the next part. I hope that you guys have completed the explanation. So we will move on to the poem, right? Okay. So we are going to start with the stanza number 1. About my husband, the clown, what could I say? So she starts the poem like that. So the wife, now it is like a journalist asking a question. Hello, how are you? Can you tell something about your husband? Can you tell something about your husband? So the wife says, about my husband, the clown, about my husband, the clown. Okay, right. What could I say? What could I say? Right? It's a rhetorical question. So even she can't give a precise, clear answer about her husband. Can you understand the complexity of human life? As our Suwani suggested, we can very clearly know about the private life of the clown from the wife. But when we ask that question, when we raised that question, wife is also thinking, what could I say? What can I say? I don't have a lot of things to say about him. So even wife is having number of problems to explain, or else in order to give some kind of interpretation about the husband. So in the first 2 lines itself, you can see some kind of curiosity, some kind of problem. This wife is having some kind of problem. How can I explain? He's a very complicated man to explain. Now try to understand. This is the basic of literature. We can't understand people. Don't try to understand people. Don't try to understand people because their behavior is very much complicated. Do not try to understand people. Do not try to judge them, right? Try to be with them. Try to accept their differences and respect their values. That's it. Don't try to understand people. That cannot be done, right? That cannot be done. Now we will move on. The clown's wife is the one who expresses her views about her husband. Wife must have a clear idea about her husband, as our Suwani suggested. Suwani, you gave me the answer. Suwani, thank you. Wife must have a clear idea about her husband. But this wife is different. But this wife is different. She doesn't have a clear idea about her man. She doesn't have a clear idea about her man, which clearly suggests us that this man's behavior is complicated. Now, my dear students, she does not have a clear idea about her man, which suggests us the husband's behavior, right? The husband's behavior, right? The husband's behavior is complicated. The husband's behavior is complicated. That is why the wife can't understand. That is why the wife can't understand. The husband's behavior is complicated. Wife can't understand, right? Maybe they are new to their marriage life. Very good, Deshani, very good. Now you are thinking a very good perspective. Very good. Very good, Deshani. I really appreciate your effort, Puta. Very good. Very good. So Ishani says, Samahara vita sir, langadi bendapu couple lekak wenna athi. Very good. This is literature, right? She does not have a clear idea about her man. Apita මිනිස්සුන්ව තේරුම් ගන්න බෑ. සාහිත්‍ය ඔබට උගන්වන්නේ සිංහල සාහිත්‍ය වේවා ඉංග්‍රීසි සාහිත්‍ය වේවා ඔබට උගන්වන්නේ මිනිස්සුන්ව තේරුම් ගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න එපා. මිනිස්සුන්ව අඳුර ගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න එපා. මිනිස්සුන්ගේ වෙනස්කම් වලට ගරු කරන්න ඒවා ඉවසන්න පුරුදු වෙන්න ඒවත් එක්ක ජීවත් වෙන්න. මිනිස්සුන්ව අපිට තේරුම් ගන්න බෑ. අවුරුදු ගාණක් එකට ජීවත් වුණත් එකට ආදරය කරත් එකට කෑව බිව්වත් එක ක්ෂණයකින් මිනිස්සු වෙනස් වෙනවා. සත්තු එහෙම නෑ. Animals are not like that, right? Animals are not like that. If you give a morsel of food to a puppy, one day, right, the puppy will remember that forever. Each and every day you share your lunch packet during the interval with your friend, each and every day, all the 5 days. One day you forgot to do that. One day you forgot to do that. From that day onwards, your friend will not talk with you. Your friend will not talk with you. Can you understand the difference between the animal and the human being? For the animal, you gave only 1 day. Morsel of food you gave only 1 day. The animal can remember that forever. But human beings are not like that. That is why we say human beings are very much complicated. We can't understand them. That is why we have subjects like literature to expose their reality to the society. To expose their reality to the society. Right? That is why she uses the rhetorical question. Rhetorical question. What is the rhetorical question? What could I say? Rhetorical question. What could I say? This directly shows us the complexity of human behavior. How can I say about him? How can I say about him? Right? Complexity of human behavior. Even though the wife shared most of her life with her husband, she knew very little about his behavior and character. So this is how the poem started. She knew very little about the character. Very little about the character. Mage husband, clown ගැන ඉතින් මම මොනවාද කියන්නේ? What could I say? මොනවාද මං ඉතින් කියන්න දෙයක්වත් නැහැ. She's like that. This husband and wife are not open to each other. Maybe Suwani. Very good, Suwani. Very good. Now you are thinking. Very good. Right? Maybe at the same time, sometimes we can argue the fact that the husband is not ready to tell the truth about his life because as a clown, he may be suffering from his job. He may have some kind of financial problems, right? And sometimes people have misidentified his identity. The wife is thinking about the husband not as a husband, but as a clown. But make sure to remember, husband is a husband once he comes home, right? Husband is a husband once he comes home. So we should not tell him, we should not use him the word clown. But here we can clearly understand this lady is using the word clown. So she is thinking that the husband is still a clown even after the clothes. So here we can say mistaken identity. The wife did not understand the husband's job and his private life. Even we don't understand. Sometimes we may face that kind of problems, my dear students. Anna Sanduni. Anna අපේ සඳුනි කියනවා very good Sanduni. ඔය තියෙන්නේ අන්න literature. දැන් ඔයගලන්ට තේරෙනවා. I am really happy about this grade 10 badge. They are really good. They are really good. Sanduni very good. Just like Mali and Jagan. Even though they lived in the same house, Mali did not understand Jagan. Jagan did not understand Mali. They had the generation gap. මෙතනත් එහෙම තමයි. දැන් මෙතන ඊට වඩා Sanduni දුව try to understand. දැන් Clown's job is a clown. It's a job, right? He's not doing that for the sake of enjoyment. It is his job. So soon after he performed that, he came to the house. So when he came to the house, the wife should not use the word clown. Can you understand that? Because he's not a clown no more. He's not a clown. Now he's a husband. So that respect should be given. This is my personal opinion. I don't know whether you guys are going to agree with me or not. That respect should be given, right? My husband, the clown. Even the wife uses the word clown. Then think about the other people in the society. Even the wife is always using the name clown. Think about the other people in the society. They also definitely use him the word clown instead of his real name. We have some identity. Can you understand that? Right? If your father works in police station, he will be a policeman inside the police station. Once he came to the house, we can't use the word inspector. Inspector, come here. You can't use like that. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a son. So try to understand the appearance versus reality. But the society will not understand this reality. They will see the policeman as a policeman inside the house and inside the police station as well. This is what we call mistaken identity. This is what we call mistaken identity. Your father may be a policeman. So he will be a policeman inside the police station. Inside the house, he is not a policeman. He's a human being. He's a man. He's a lovely father. Try to understand. People won't understand this reality. Even this wife did not understand this reality. That is the word that she used. Clown. My husband, clown, joker. He's a joker. He's a joker. That is his profession. That is his profession, right? So soon after he came to the house, he's not doing any joke acts in order to make people laugh, right? He's taking some money for that. That is his profession. Now, as a teacher, I'm not going to teach my sister or my brother, right? Because they are elder brother. That's it, right? So I can't do like that. I can do like that, but I'm not going to perform that role actually. Can you understand? That's the difference. I hope you can understand, right? Did you write this part? Shall we move on to the next part? Yeah, we can say undergrading, right? People are doing like that, undergrading. Right? Try to understand. When you read the poem, you will realize that, right? When you read the poem, you will realize. Right. So we will move on to the next part. On stage, so here we have a comma, so we have to give some kind of a pause, right? So we have a comma. On stage, then Vedikava Mata, he's a different person, right? On stage, he's a different person. Now, different roles that we play in our day-to-day society. William Shakespeare, the greatest dramatist in the world, said that each and every person in this world is an actor or actress, right? We are performing the stage called world, right? The stage is the world and we are performing. We all are actors. So we are performing some kind of act in front of the society. Now, from 6 o'clock to 7:30, I am your teacher. Online class teacher, I am performing my duty. After 7:30, I am not your teacher. You will leave the classroom. Now you are my children, my students. You will pay your attention to the class, having some snack or else drinking some tea or else looking at the World Cup, watching the World Cup and enjoying. You may be doing like that. I can't see you, right? But you can see me. So after 7:30, we don't have that bond. Can you understand? The bond will be reconnected tomorrow, 11:30, novel class. Again, it will be connected. Can you understand? So for a short period of time, Buddha, we are acting. This clown is also very same. On stage, he's a different person, right? Up there, he is a king on a throne. So all the difficult words I have explained. පුතේ ලියාගන්න අපේ දරුවෝ සෑම සිංහල වචනයක්ම මම පැහැදිලි සිංහලනුත් පැහැදිලි කරනවා ඔබේ හොඳට. And I am explaining in English language as well, right? All the difficult words I have explained, make sure to write down, right? On stage, he is a different person. Up there, he is a king on a throne. But at home, you should hear him mourn. If you go to the home, you can hear him lament, groan, right? Groan means crying, right? So here we have been given two different roles. Two different roles, not Chinese roles, huh? Two different roles, right? Two different roles will be given. Here the poet has given us two different roles of this particular cloud. Two different roles are given. On stage, that is actually his public life, right? As our Suwani suggested, public. Here we have the personal life at home. But the problem is, wife did not understand the two different lifestyles. Can you understand? Very important, right? Her description of the clown draws parallels to two aspects of life. Now here you can see the two aspects. Pay your attention, my dear students. You can see the two different aspects. Her description of the clown draws parallels of two aspects of life of her husband. This is one of the main themes of the poem, appearance versus reality. Please highlight that. Please highlight that. Appearance versus reality. Very much important. Up there, he is a king on a throne. So here we have a metaphor. Very powerful metaphor, right? Metaphor means direct comparison. So the wife says, my husband is the king. My husband is the king on the stage, right? Exactly, Oshan, you are correct. Very good. Public life and private life. Very good. Exactly, yes. Public life and private life. My husband is a king on the stage, on the throne. But at home, you should hear him more. Soon after he came to the house, he starts crying. That is the difference. That is the difference. Hurry up and write down. Thank you, Suwani. Thank you, Eshani. I ask other students to also to contribute. These girls are really good. You will enhance your vocabulary. Very good. I really appreciate the way that you describe the poem. Your perspectives are always welcome. You may have different perspectives. Hurry up and write down. Right, very good. So today we started discussing the prescribed poem Clown's Wife. We discussed stanza number 1, and then we discussed stanza number 2, half of that. So tomorrow, you guys can join with the class which explains about the novel. Now we have described about chapter number 4, and we have been discussing about chapter number 5. So please make sure to participate. Use the same link. Tomorrow class will be at 11:30, right? Make sure to participate, go through with your work, complete your notes, and we will meet tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Good night. You can leave the meeting if you have finished